Hey friends, it's Tucker here coming at you again from beautiful southern Florida. We are back this week for a continuation of the series we are calling The Rules for Living. If you had a chance to watch or listen to the video last week, I laid the groundwork for what I had called the system of regulation, a process which has helped me tackle my challenges with mental health head on, giving me the strength and determination to keep moving forward. If you haven't watched that video, please pause this and head over there for a quick review of step 1 in the system of regulation. Step 1 being the story, what you want and why you want it. It's the story you're telling yourself to keep yourself moving forward and progressing through any of the inevitable changes and challenges we all face. While we're at it, if you had the chance to watch it and found anything in it helpful, it would mean a lot to me if you tap that like button in this video and subscribe to this channel to keep up with what's to come. So today is where we begin to get into the real meat of the system, the hidden majority of the iceberg laying just below the surface. So when you see someone living in a way that inspires you, I believe that this is the majority of the work they do in order to live that way, whether they realize it or not. If you see your friend's finish line photo in a feed, that is only the tip of the iceberg for the mountain of effort it took for them to get there. If step 1 is the story, the picture you've made in your mind for what you want and why you want it, then step 2 is the strategy of how you get there. This is a phase where the rules live, what I have been referring to as my rules for living. These are the basic principles that I structure my life around to pursue health of mind, body, and spirit. I understand that this is nothing new. For millennia, people have been doing this. There's the ancient spiritual practice of the Christian rule of life. Personally, I borrowed from Greg McKeown in his book Essentialism when I crafted my rules for living, a book which, by the way, I highly recommend. Ultimately, I started structuring it in a framework of my own for a few different reasons. I felt the other systems were less personal and restricted the individual from learning and adapting to what fits them best. With over 7 billion people in the world, we all live in different environments, feel called to our own causes, and are impassioned to live in the ways we feel uniquely wired. So I set out to find a system that would motivate me to live in a way that I was created to live, not just to copy and paste someone else's life. And secondly, again, this is just my opinion, I thought that they were less action-oriented. When I have someone telling me what's most important without an understanding of how it applies to my life, the muscle that drives action begins to weaken. So I've created rules in my life that I know are broadly based on my system of beliefs and values, but can also be broken down into specific action steps. I believe there is a difference between framework for activity and direct action. I spent a lot of time attempting to live the values of other people, unsure of how to implement their values into actions simply because the framework didn't apply to me. Saying, wanting, and believing you'll do are not the same thing as doing. So those roadblocks set me off on a journey to create a set of rules that were based on my values and belief system that would give me the basis for direct action. But that journey requires a lot of time and a lot of work to assess and evaluate what is most important to you. So that's why I use the rules for living. But now let's discuss how to build them. I know it seems ridiculous, but coming up with a set of rules for your life requires a framework for you to come up with them. So I guess in a way you could say your rules have rules. But really, I'm asking myself questions and meditating on responses to help me come up with them. As you begin to process and think about how to create your own set of rules for living, carve out some time to do that. Let your mind run and give yourself the freedom to get as creative as possible. I'll give you 4 suggestions for defining questions that have helped me, but feel free to take it further. The first, what is most important to me? My health, my faith, my family, friends, life experiences, or financial security, making memories? These are broader things that give you a chance to brainstorm. Try to keep these responses as broad as possible, so as you narrow them down even further, you get to be more specific to the context of each. And the next question, when I look back at the end of my life, what will I be most proud of? Raising independent and successful children, being the best manager in the history of your company, leaving an inheritance to your kids, traveling the world, writing a novel, being the best guitarist or dancer or artist? Or is it simply just to live a life of service to the people you love most? And another question in line with that, if I met myself at a party, what do I want to be my biggest takeaway in meeting myself? Your friendliness, your joy, your ability to listen, or how you tell a story? Did you complain? Did you allow others to speak first? Did you enforce your beliefs? And this next one might be hard for some of you to think about. What would people say in my eulogy or write in my obituary? I know it sounds morbid, but the reality is you have the power to create the life that would inspire and impact others for better. Why wouldn't you want to take the time to really think about that? I hope you use some of these as the base to help you brainstorm your values for your own rules. And once you have some answers to those big questions, begin to formulate them into clear and concise statements that will help you define your values into actions. Just to give you a simple example of what that might look like, if you came up with an answer to question 1 as, my family is most important and raising well-adjusted kids is my goal, then a simple rule to structure your life could be, we are home to eat dinner together as a family at least 5 times a week, and each of us share the highs and lows of our day. It's a basic rule, but it very clearly determines what's most important and how you will live out your family life. As you do that, try to build out between 10 and 30 rules. The truth is, you can do as many as you want, but the more you have, the harder it gets to track. And the fewer the rules, the less structure you'll have to achieve your goals. I myself now have about 18. And once you have them, write them, type them, print them out, and put them somewhere for you to return to regularly. I spend quite a bit of time reviewing and reflecting on my rules in order to best live the values that I aspire to and still maintain the momentum to achieve them. You may have seen this in my previous videos. It's my daily planner and my bucket for all things goal-oriented. This is the Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt. I've been using it for over 4 years now. I love it more and more every single day. It's not only a daily planner for my schedule, but also my task list and to-do list, as well as my goal tracker, allowing me to break down my goals into quarterly, weekly, and daily actions in order to reach them. One of my favorite parts of having the planner is keeping my rules for living in ready access. In the back of the planner is a section for notes where I write out my rules for living and can refer and reflect on them regularly in my morning ritual. This is also where I keep my not to-do list, another great resource which we'll get into in a later video. This is a quarterly planner, which also means that 4 times a year I get to write my goals in another planner, giving me the chance to reflect on them and reassess their value. I am a huge fan of this planner and recommend it to anyone, so if you feel like giving it a try, there's a $10 discount code linked in the info below. Go ahead and use it if you want to pick one up. I personally love using a pen and paper to write out my goals and my tasks, which is why I use a paper planner. But the truth is, you don't need anything fancy. A piece of paper above your desk or a note on your phone can be enough, as long as you return to them regularly and use them to determine the expression of your values and the direction of your goals. As I mentioned before, the rules aren't meant to be your specific goals, just the pathway to help you achieve them. I find that the time that I put into them are like an investment, taking advantage of compound interest. The more time you commit to them, the more they return exponentially. Some of them are ideological and value-based, while others are practical. Next week, we'll begin to dive into my rules, and I'll spend some time over the course of several weeks explaining each one and why they're most important to me, as well as how they've become an important tool for me to navigate my path towards mental health. Guys, I look forward to sharing more of that with you soon. As we process this together, I'd love to hear what you're learning in your own lives to make your goals a reality. So if there's anything that comes to mind, leave that for me and others watching in the comments below. I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like or hit subscribe if you'd like to stay on this journey with me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you here next time. God bless.